Philadelphia Eagles just made a bold move, sending Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers, and now the question that's lighting up the fan base is simple. Could Kyle Pitts be next? There's a lot to unpack here, and the Bryce Huff trade sets the table for what could be another headline-grabbing decision by Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office. Let's start with the Huff deal. He was signed for big money, over $30 million in guaranteed cash, but never truly fit in with what Vic Fangio wanted to do on defense. From the jump, Fangio didn't trust him. Not in training camp, not in preseason, and definitely not once the game started to matter. Despite the potential people thought he had, Huff ended up as a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. That right there tells you everything. This was a Howie Roseman signing through and through. Howie liked the talent, but Fangio runs his system his way. He made it clear that Huff wasn't part of his plans, preferring other guys like Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, and Josh Sweat, who was having a monster season. So with that trade, the Eagles recoup a mid-round pick, open up a roster spot, and save some serious cash, about $2.4 million in cap space next year and nearly $8 million in actual dollars. But that's not all. With the post-June 1st designations now official for Darius Slay and James Bradbury, that frees up even more room, over $6 million. All of that puts the Eagles in a very healthy cap position right now, sitting with more than $25 million in space, right around the middle of the pack across the league. For a contender with Super Bowl aspirations, that's a great spot to be in. Now, when you start thinking about where the Eagles might go next with that flexibility, the tight end room becomes an interesting place to look. Dallas Goedert is still the main guy, but he's getting older, his contract is expensive, and he's battled injuries. Grant Calcaterra, also a free agent next year. So if you're Howie Roseman and you're thinking a step ahead, looking for the next weapon to keep Jalen Hurts surrounded with playmakers, it's not crazy to imagine Kyle Pitts entering the chat. Pitts is such a fascinating name to watch. Coming out of Florida, he was one of the most hyped tight end prospects ever. 6'6", 250 pounds, and with that freakish athleticism, people thought he was going to be a superstar the second he stepped on the field. And to be fair, he showed flashes. His rookie year with Atlanta, over 1,000 receiving yards. That's elite company for a rookie tight end. But since then, it's been a roller coaster. Injuries, bad quarterback play, offensive coordinator changes. It's been rough. The touchdowns haven't come, just 10 in 4 seasons, and that's shocking for a player with his physical gifts. There have been questions about his effort at times, about his consistency, about whether he's really committed to being great. But here's where things get interesting for Philly. Despite all of that, Kyle Pitts is still just 24 years old. He turns 25 in October. He's younger than a lot of the guys in this league who haven't even figured it out yet, and he's already got a 1,000-yard season under his belt. Sometimes a player just needs a fresh start, a new system, and a better environment. The Falcons have been a mess. Coaching changes, quarterback uncertainty, no real identity on offense. You put a guy like that in Philadelphia, where player development has been a major strength under Nick Sirianni, and you start to wonder what's possible. And don't forget, Pitts is a local kid. He grew up not far from Philly, went to Archbishop. Wood High School in Pennsylvania. There's something about coming home that can reignite a player. Being around family, playing in front of your hometown crowd, being in a winning environment, that can flip a switch. And in this Eagles offense, with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, a top-tier offensive line, and a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, that's the kind of situation where a guy like Kyle Pitts could take off. Now, according to reports, multiple teams have already reached out to the Falcons to check on Pitts' availability. Atlanta doesn't want to move him, but as always, the right offer changes things. The buzz is that it would take at least a day 2 pick, so a second or third rounder, to get the Falcons to even consider picking up the phone. For the Eagles, that's doable, especially when you look ahead to the 2026 draft, where they could be sitting on 3 third-round picks. That's a lot of ammo, and Howie loves having options. There's a scenario being floated where Philly sends one of those third-rounders, maybe the pick they got from the Jets, to Atlanta in exchange for Pitts, if he pans out. You've got a long-term weapon at tight end who you can extend. If not, you still have other picks, and it was a calculated risk. That's the kind of aggressive, forward-thinking move Howie Roseman has made time and time again. He's not afraid to Bet on talent, especially when that talent was once viewed as elite. He's done it with corners, with defensive linemen, and now possibly with a tight end. The other layer to this is Dallas Goedert's future. As of right now, the Eagles haven't given him a contract extension. That alone raises eyebrows. Goedert's cap hit next year is over $20 million, and while he's been productive, the injuries and age are concerns. It makes sense that the front office is keeping its options open. Pitts, even with his flaws, might represent both a present and future solution. He could start as a complementary weapon and eventually take over as TE1 if Goedert moves on. And here's something else to consider. In this Eagles offense, Pitts doesn't have to be the guy. He's not going to be doubled every snap. You've got A.J. Brown demanding attention, Devonta Smith working underneath, and a solid run game that keeps defenses honest. That gives Pitts the chance to pick his spots, exploit mismatches, and will grow into his role. The pressure wouldn't be on him to carry the offense. It would be about unlocking his potential in a system designed to help him succeed. That's the upside. That's the bet you make if you're the Eagles. It's not just about what Kyle Pitts has done. It's about what he could become, especially in the right environment. And Philadelphia has become one of those environments. The coaching is there, the quarterback is in place, and the culture is built for guys who want to win. If Pitts wants to get serious about his career, there might not be a better landing spot than this. So the big question for Eagles fans right now is simple. Would you give up a third-round pick for Kyle Pitts? On paper, it's a gamble. But when you factor in his age, his upside, and the opportunity to develop him in a system that's produced results, it starts to make a lot more sense. Especially if you're not fully committed to Goedert beyond next year, this could be the time to start preparing for what comes next. Howie Roseman has shown over and over that he's willing to zig when others zag. He sees value where others see risk. Pitts might not be a sure thing, but the cost isn't outrageous and the potential payoff is massive. And let's be honest, if Pitts finds his footing in Philadelphia and becomes the red zone threat everyone hoped he would be, this offense becomes even scarier. You give Jalen Hurts another weapon, another mismatch nightmare, and another reason to keep defenses guessing. And look, I get the hesitation. 10 touchdowns in 4 years? That's not what you want to see from a guy with top 5 pick expectations. But context matters. Quarterback play has been inconsistent. Offensive schemes have changed. He hasn't had the stability that a young player needs to thrive. The raw tools are still there. The route running, the size, the speed, it's all still part of the package. What he needs is a system and a staff that can help him put it all together. And that's what Philly could offer. On top of all that, the Eagles already have a good tight end room. Goedert leads the way, but behind him, guys like Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson add depth. Adding Pitts wouldn't be about filling a desperate need. It would be about elevating a position that's already solid and potentially turning it into a game-breaking strength. It's a move that's as much about the long-term vision as it is about the immediate season ahead. And if it doesn't work, if Pitts comes in and still can't find his rhythm, let him walk. No harm done. You took a swing on a high upside guy at a reasonable price, and you still have picks left in your back pocket. That's what smart front offices do. They create opportunities for upside while managing risk. They don't just sit still and hope their roster stays good enough. They stay aggressive. They stay flexible. They build for now and for the future. So, here we are. The Bryce Huff trade created space. The cap room is there. The draft capital is there. The tight end room, while solid, has an uncertain future beyond 2025. And Kyle Pitts, still young, still loaded with talent, and still searching for the right fit, is just sitting there, possibly available. If you're the Eagles, you have to at least think about it. Would it be the splashiest move of the offseason? Maybe not. But it could be one of the smartest. And if Pitts finally clicks in Philly, look out! This offense might go from dangerous to downright unstoppable. Philadelphia, on the other hand, has built an offense that thrives on maximizing mismatches. Look at how they've used Devonta Smith, who's not the biggest guy, but creates separation with elite route running, or A.J. Brown, who wins with strength and physicality. The Eagles put players in positions to succeed. They scheme guys open. They get them the ball in space. That's the kind of environment where someone like Pitts can flourish, especially when he doesn't have to be the focal point of the passing game. Now, from a locker room perspective, the Eagles have also created a culture that brings out the Best in their players, veterans like Jason Kelsey before his retirement, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and now Lane Johnson have set the tone for what being an Eagle means. Accountability, toughness, work ethic, those things matter. For a guy like Pitts, who has had whispers about motivation or consistency, that environment could be a game changer. It's one thing to be frustrated in a losing culture. It's another thing entirely to step into a franchise where expectations are sky high every single day. And make no mistake, Kyle Pitts still wants to prove himself. You don't get drafted in the top 5 without having a target on your back. And he's probably heard every criticism under the sun over the last 2 years. But the talent never disappeared. It's just been waiting to be activated again. And that spark might come from a change of scenery. Coming back home, playing in front of fans who watched him dominate at Archbishop Wood might be exactly what he needs to reset and refocus. Let's swing back to the financial side for a moment. Because in the NFL, everything comes down to cap, flexibility, and resource allocation. As it stands, the Eagles have more than $25 million in cap space. That puts them in the upper middle class of the league. And with key contracts already structured in a way that gives them flexibility beyond 2025, they're not in a bind. Acquiring Pitts wouldn't require a massive cap hit. He's still on his rookie deal, and the 5th-year option gives you control. If he excels, you can extend him. If he struggles, you're not committed long-term. That's a win-win scenario. The draft capital piece is even more intriguing. Thanks to how he's maneuvering, the Eagles are positioned to have multiple third-round picks in 2026. That's rare for a contending team, but it's also by design. He builds draft capital not just to use, but to spend. When a player like Pitts becomes potentially available, you can afford to explore those options without mortgaging your future. Giving up a 3rd rounder, especially one acquired from another team, is not a major loss. It's the kind of chip you're supposed to use in situations exactly like this. There's also a tactical advantage to making a move now instead of waiting. If the Eagles do trade for Kyle Pitts this offseason, they bring him in during training camp. That gives him time to get acclimated, build chemistry with Jalen Hurts, and start learning the offense. It's much harder to pull off mid-season trades that actually produce instant impact. You want your guys ready to go when the games start counting. Bringing him in before the season means you give yourself the best chance of integrating him smoothly into the offense. And here's another wrinkle. The NFC is wide open. Sure, the 49ers are loaded and Detroit is on the rise. But if you're the Eagles, you're thinking championship window. You don't make moves just for the sake of it. You make them because you believe they help you hoist the Lombardi trophy. And adding someone with Kyle Pitts' talent, even if it's a calculated risk, could be the kind of move that tips the scales. Imagine trying to defend Pitts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert in a 2 tight end look. Good luck matching up. That's the kind of formation nightmare that forces defensive coordinators to lose sleep. Do you stay in base and get burned by speed? Do you bring in nickel and get bullied by size? It opens up possibilities not just for Pitts, but for everyone else. And with Jalen Hurts running the show, orchestrating it all, the offense becomes that much more unpredictable. Versatility has been one of the Eagles' greatest weapons, and Pitts just adds another layer. If you go back and study his tape, even during the rough years in Atlanta, you'll still see moments. One-handed grabs, breaking away from defenders after the catch, boxing out corners like a power forward. The flashes have always been there. The problem is that the Falcons never figured out how to build around him. That's not entirely on him. It's on the system, the quarterback carousel, and the lack of a consistent offensive identity. You put those same flashes into an offense with structure, balance, and a clear hierarchy, and you might see them turn into weekly highlights. Now, not everyone in Philadelphia will be on board with the idea. Fans love Dallas Goedert, and they should. He's been reliable, tough, and productive, but you can love a player and still plan for what's next. This isn't about replacing Goedert tomorrow. It's about recognizing that your tight end room has a future expiration date, and that now might be the right time to start thinking about the next phase. If Pitts clicks, great. If not, you still have your core intact. That's smart business. It also sends a message. When you make a move like this, it tells your locker room and your fan base that you're not complacent, that you're not satisfied with just being good. You want to be great. You want to innovate. You want to stay ahead of the curve. That's the standard in Philly right now. It's not just about making the playoffs. It's about building a dynasty, one smart move at a time, and this could be one of those moves. Not a splashy free agent signing or a blockbuster trade for a superstar, but a subtle calculated roll of the dice that turns into a long-term win. The Eagles have the infrastructure, the leadership, the scheme, and the opportunity to turn Kyle Pitts into what he was always supposed to be. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but the door is open, and Howie Roseman has never been shy about walking through it. As the rumors keep swirling and the speculation builds, one thing is clear: Philadelphia is positioned to do something big, and if that something is Kyle Pitts, it's going to get a lot of people talking. The fan base will debate, analysts will dissect, and opponents, they'll start game planning for another freak athlete in midnight green. You think about the energy at Lincoln Financial Field on a Sunday afternoon. The crowd roaring, Jalen Hurts commanding the huddle, and Kyle Pitts lined up outside, ready to make a play. That's the vision. That's the dream. And for a front office that has never been afraid to dream big, it might just be the next step on toward another deep playoff run, or maybe, just maybe, a return to the biggest stage of all. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling around the NFL as the Philadelphia Eagles appear to be on the verge of pulling off what could be the biggest signing in the franchise's history. The rumor mill is buzzing with talk that Tyreek Hill, one of the league's most explosive wide receivers, might be joining the Eagles, sending shockwaves through the football world. Hill, known for his lightning speed and game-changing plays, has long been a coveted target for teams looking to elevate their offense to an elite level. While he has dazzled crowds and defenses alike with his performances, the idea that he could now be donning the Eagles' green and white is stirring up excitement and speculation across fan bases and analysts. The potential acquisition would represent a seismic shift in the Eagles' offensive dynamics, giving quarterback Jalen Hurts a weapon unlike any other in the league. Though nothing has been confirmed, sources close to the situation hint that the Eagles are seriously exploring ways to secure Hill's signature, viewing him as a transformative piece to help push them deeper into championship contention. The addition of Hill would not only provide a deep threat capable of stretching defenses, but also bring a level of speed and agility that could redefine the Eagles' passing game. Fans and commentators alike are imagining the possibilities. Hill's ability to break away on any play, his knack for making defenders look foolish, and the electrifying energy he brings to the field could inject new life into the Eagles' offense. His presence could force opposing defenses to rethink their strategies entirely, creating more opportunities for Hurts and the rest of the offense. The potential deal is already generating buzz as one of the most talked about moves in the offseason. If Philadelphia manages to land Hill, it would be hailed as a masterstroke by the front office and could mark the beginning of a new era for the Eagles, one filled with heightened expectations and aspirations. While it remains to be seen if the deal will come to fruition, the mere possibility has ignited a spark of optimism. The Eagles fan base, hungry for glory, can only dream of what this game-changing signing would mean for their team's future. For now, all eyes are on the unfolding drama as the league waits to see if Tyreek Hill will indeed become the crown jewel of the Eagles roster and perhaps the greatest acquisition in the history of the franchise. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.